Hey everybody, it's Gary Lucas, and I'm broadcasting remote here today from a safe house somewhere in darkest Long Island. Caroline is over there on the porch. I'm here in the kitchen. Come on in my kitchen. And I'm here to celebrate the anniversary of my friend Jonathan Luftig and Ling, his significant other. And Jonathan has requested an acoustic set leaning heavily on the blues. So I aim to please, you aim to please. And here we go. All right, a little medley of Walkin' and Talkin' It and You, and two originals of mine. They may or may not be on some albums. I don't know, I put so many out. I recently redid, thanks to Catherine Barner, my wiki page, so I think there's a pretty good discography there. Also at www.garylucas.com. I've also recently acquired many rare copies of these albums in their hard CD format, and those are available. So please check out GaryLucas.com, go to the merch page, and then contact my webmaster, Tanya Weeman, and one of these would be winging their way to you imminently. Unless you live in Australia, like my new graphic designer friend, AAA. But I'm going to help him out. He wants a copy of my book, Touched by Grace, about working with Jeff Buckley. I'm going to figure out a way to get him that. Although it might come via C with the special C rate. That's SEA. If we still have a post office when I get back home, I don't know. But anyway, Caroline and I are out here enjoying a wonderful respite from New York City. This is the first time in 6 months we've been out of the house to go anywhere. And it's so liberating to be here in the beautiful burbs near the sea. And we spent a lovely afternoon with our friend walking on the boardwalk around here. I don't want to disclose the location for obvious reasons. What are the reasons? There are no reasons other than we want to maintain a facade of anonymity here. Okay, so Jonathan, man, this is for you. This solo concert is dedicated to you, and I hope you're going to like this. This next one up is my arrangement of Nino Rota's theme from Federico Fellini's fantastic La Strada, The Road, a film dear to my heart about a traveling mountebank played by Anthony Quinn as Zampino, the strong man who then acquires the services of an assistant, the lovely Gietta Messina, who was married to Fellini for many years, who is the foil and kind of the heart of the movie. And then there is an actual fool played by Richard Basehart who intrudes. I don't want to spoil the story, but see if you can rent this or stream it or buy it. I would prefer to buy it and own it, as I do, because it's one of the greatest films, I think, in the history of cinema, and the music is right up there. So. Yes. Nino Rota, the fabulous Nino Rota. Maybe my favorite film composer, right up there with Morricone, who sadly passed away this year, and Bernard Herrmann. And I'm very much into film music. And if you like that, please check out an album of mine, Ciné Fantastique, which is devoted to covers of famous film music that I adore. for solo acoustic guitar primarily, some electric, as well as some of my own music for film, some silent film accompaniments. I have about 12 that I've played all over the world with various fantasy and horror and some noir and suspense films, as well as some sound films. So that's a very good collection. I highly recommend it. I don't know, this friend of mine was asking what I would choose as my favorite all-around representative CD. I'm not sure because I put so many out and they're very diverse in stylistic content. They cover the waterfront. Maybe, I would point people to the very first one, actually, called Skeleton at the Feast, which was representative of my solo show, Electric and Acoustic, around 1990 and recorded mainly in Holland. A country I love dearly. I spent a lot of time in the Netherlands. They were the first country that took to my music and to me as an artist in a big way. And I can't wait to play there again. I'm working on it. Okay, so gonna do a little more blues here. That was kind of a blues, wasn't it? Hello, Caroline. What time is it? I got lost in my plane and I ain't got a watch.
3:21.
Okay, so we got a few more minutes. And as Jonathan is a good supporter and a friend, he sent me a beautiful mask at the beginning of lockdown with a skull and roses motif. Could have been a Grateful Dead inspired number, though it came from Japan, but I know they have a lot of Dead fans there. I'm going to do some Chinese pop music in honor of his girlfriend Ling. And funnily enough, I was married to a Chinese woman named Ling for nearly 5 years. T. Ling Ling, who became Ling Lucas, the infamous Ling Lucas, and I believe she's presently managing the personal manager of Zhongji, who is a big Chinese movie star in mainland China, who was, I guess you might have seen the film Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. She's the little pigtailed kung fu girl in that, but then when she got a little older, she's in Rush Hour 2 with Eddie Murphy and Jackie Chan as a dragon lady, and she's very good calling card for Ling, I would suppose. So, and I wish her the best wherever she is. So this is music from an album that I actually recorded in '97, but it took 3 to 4 years for it to finally come out. The story was that I ran into a guy. I was working on all sorts of music, and then I always loved the music from Shanghai, 1930s period. It's some of the most sublime music on earth, I think, and there was an amazing kind of fusion going on there in the dance halls and in music halls and in the recording studio and in movie studios. So there was a confluence of energy, Shanghai being a free port where you could enter and leave without a passport during World War II. It was a haven for all sorts of refugees, many artists, a lot of people fleeing Nazism and communism and fascism wound up there, many Jewish refugees too. It was known as the port of last resort to just get out of the way of the Anschluss. So in this cauldron, this hothouse of energy, this amazing fusion took place in which some of the black jazz of the period, spearheaded by Buck Clayton, who was later to join Count Basie Orchestra. Buck Clayton signed on for a 2-year residency with his band, the Harlem Gentlemen, in '37, and took a steamship from San Francisco all the way to Shanghai, and then made appearances in the Canadrome, which was a club right by the dog racing track in Shanghai, hence the name Canadrome, like canine. And he was well received. And then he hooked up with Li Jinhui, the father of Chinese popular song, who led a troupe of young performers, of mainland Chinese performers, the Bright Sun and Moon song troupe. And they toured all over mainland China and in Southeast Asia. And his daughter was in there, but also in there were the people who became known, these female divas, as the 7 great singing stars of Shanghai, the 2 best of which, in my opinion, are Zhou Xuan and Bai Guang. So anyway, I absorbed all this music courtesy of Ling, my wife Ling, who had tapes of it, and our French friend Jacques Picou, who's sadly no longer here. And I came back to America from Taiwan with Ling in tow as my new blushing bride. In 1976, we got married in San Francisco, right at the tail end of it, and then moved to New York in spring of '77. And I turned on folks such as Don Van Vliet, Captain Beefheart, to this music, which he adored. And some years later, I was asked to do some of it for a wedding in Chinatown of my old friend Ken Hurwitz and his new bride, Mi Ling Tsui, who came from Hong Kong, who knew this music. I mean, most Chinese people all over the world, overseas Chinese, adore this music to this day. So I arranged 3 tunes for a wedding gift, and it went down really well. People like Lee Ronaldo attended the wedding, and they were all gung-ho, as they say. So I then determined to put it on a record, and some of the earliest recorded versions are on my album Evangeline, which is a solo acoustic effort that came out in 95 on Zenzor, a German label, and then later in Paradigm, a short-lived indie label that RCA was distributing. And anyway, it caught the attention of a young Chinese guy in New York who had a little dance label, who was trying to get me to do more electronica stuff. But his father, who was the main financier, said to him, "I want a whole album of this. We should put this out. It's great." So I got some money to do this, and I worked hard on it. And then the label was about to fold. So the tapes were in limbo. And then 3 years later, I was in Paris. Thanks to my friend Carol Beer, he hooked up a gig at the famous Hotel du Nord of legendary fame. And in fact, there's a film with that title. And in the audience that night when I did a solo acoustic set were two guys from the Label Bleu label, which was a French government-sponsored label, mainly jazz and world music, and they were mainly African and French artists. But he wrote me an email, one of these guys, a few months later, and said, "I was quite taken with that. We think you'd make a good artist on our label, and what do you have for us?" So I said, "Aha, I have this album." And I submitted the tapes, and they said, "Great." And then I got them back from the label, and the album came out on 9/11. Yesterday was, what anniversary would it be? Whatever, 2001, we're here 19 years ago. Or was it 20 years ago? 20 years ago? I'm trying to think. I guess it would be 19 years ago, yeah. It was the 19th anniversary. I was in Paris to promote that record. And it did great in the press, and it was played on France Inter radio. And then it moved to all over the world. It got great reviews in Hong Kong and Macau even, and Taiwan. And I've been working on this material ever since, now with a great Chinese singer, Fei Yang. But on that record, I had a fantastic female vocalist from Singapore, where Ling came from, Celeste Chong, who sang the next song, which is called Please Allow Me to Look at You Again. I'm currently reading a great biography of Malcolm McLaren, who you know from the Sex Pistols and then his own Duck Rock projects and various other albums, who's no longer with us, but a brilliant, rascalish, devilish character, and a guy after my own heart in that sense. And Malcolm actually was working on a Chinese music project with 4 Asian women to be called The Rice Girls, a play on the Spice Girls, but it never was to be. And then when I met Celeste, she was coming off that project. And I was really happy to hook up with her. And she could make people cry with her rendition of the song. So here it is. This is for Jonathan and Ling, and it's called Please Allow Me to Look at You Again. All right, that was for Jonathan and Ling, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I think yesterday was the technical anniversary, but I don't do shows on Friday unless I have to, so please tune in again this Tuesday. I'll be back in the city with a bunch of new stuff for you, And until that time, please visit my virtual tip jar at PayPal. And I just want to say it's a pleasure to play for you. As always, love you guys, and I'll see you on Tuesday. Take care. Have a great weekend. Bye now.